Welcome back to an incredible journey into the world of coins, history, and hidden treasures where we take a deep look at one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage, the 1-cent Liberty from the year 1981, a coin that on the surface looks like just another penny but is actually surrounded by mystery, rarity, and immense value. Imagine for a moment holding in your hand a simple copper penny from 1981, a coin millions of people spent on candy, newspapers, and everyday goods, yet among those billions struck, some carry unique characteristics, minting mistakes, and extraordinary stories that elevate them to legendary status, making them worth far more than their tiny face value. In fact, some of the rarest examples of the 1981 Liberty 1 cent have reached a staggering market value today of $134 million. A number so astonishing it captures the imagination not only of coin collectors but of anyone who hears about it. Understand why the 1981 1-cent Liberty coin can reach such astronomical values. We must travel back to its roots and explore both its history and the time it was made. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, was a groundbreaking design because it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it carried the powerful profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and originally displayed 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. This wheat cent, as collectors call it, lasted until 1959, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparo. That reverse lasted until 2008, making the 1981 cent one of the last issues before another major change occurred just a few years later. So by 1981, when we look at the coin, we see on one side the image of Lincoln, symbolizing strength, unity, and freedom, and on the other side the Lincoln Memorial, a structure that itself enshrines the memory of one of America's most iconic presidents. The year 1981 holds additional importance in coin history because it was the final full year that Lincoln cents were struck in the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Starting in 1982, due to rising copper prices, the U.S. Mint switched the cent to a cheaper copper-plated zinc composition. That transition makes the 1981 cent the last of its kind in terms of metal content, a detail that gives it an extra layer of collectability and historical significance. Holding a 1981 penny is holding the end of an era, the last chapter of the solid copper Lincoln cent that had been a staple for more than 70 years. Collectors treasure these pre-1982 coins because they feel more authentic, heavier, and more tied to America's numismatic tradition than the later zinc cents, which are prone to corrosion and lack the same durability. But what really propels the 1981 Liberty 1 cent into the realm of incredible value is the combination of condition, rarity, and minting errors. Billions of pennies were struck in 1981 at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, yet only a very tiny fraction have survived in flawless condition. The majority of these coins went directly into circulation, used and worn by millions of Americans in daily life. This constant use meant scratches, discoloration, and heavy wear. However, coins that were carefully saved, untouched, and later graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in extremely high mint state conditions, especially MS-67 or MS-68 red, are among the rarest survivors. These blazing red copper coins with full luster and no blemishes are the jewels of the Lincoln cent series. Because of their rarity, such examples are chased by top collectors, and when they appear in major auctions they command huge sums, sometimes even beyond imagination. Errors are another category that turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. In 1981, like in many other years, certain coins left the mint with striking mistakes that were not caught. These could include double die obverse where inscriptions like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date 1981 show a distinct doubling effect due to a misalignment in the hubbing process. Such doubled dies are rare and spectacular to collectors. There are also off-center strikes where part of Lincoln's face may be missing and replaced by a blank field of copper, creating a striking and unusual design. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as a cent accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, resulting in a smaller, lighter penny with unique metal composition. These rare transitional or planchet error coins are among the most valuable and can fetch astonishing sums when they surface, adding to the aura of the 1981 cent as a coin of incredible possibilities. The cultural and historical backdrop of 1981 also adds context to why coins from this year are fascinating. America in 1981 was going through changes, with the start of a new presidential era under Ronald Reagan, economic shifts, and technological growth. The coin itself becomes a time capsule, reflecting a period of transformation in American society. Coins are more than metal, they are historical artifacts, snapshots of the nation at a specific time. To collectors, owning a 1981 penny in pristine condition is not just about owning copper, it is about owning a piece of American history tied to Lincoln's legacy and the national story. Now, when we talk about the valuation of the 1981 Liberty 1 cent at $134 million, what we are really highlighting is the unique intersection of extreme rarity, condition, and collector demand. Not every 1981 penny is worth that sum. Most are still worth only face value, and even uncirculated ones in lower grades may be worth only a few dollars. But certain examples with the right combination, perhaps a flawless top-graded gem with full red luster and an extraordinary error, become so rare and unique that their value transcends the usual market. When such coins appear in auctions, wealthy collectors and investors compete fiercely, driving prices upward into the stratosphere. These are not just coins anymore, they are pieces of art, investments, and symbols of prestige. Auction stories bring this to life. Imagine a rare 1981 cent appearing at heritage auctions or Stack's Bowers. Collectors from around the world tune in, eager to bid on a coin they may never see again in their lifetimes. The bidding begins, climbing higher and higher, until the final hammer falls at a number that shocks even seasoned collectors. Headlines declare the sale of a penny for millions, sparking excitement and wonder in the numismatic community. This is the world where a coin with a face value of 1 cent can be transformed into a multi-million-dollar treasure, and the 1981 Liberty cent is one of the greatest examples. There is also something emotional about the Lincoln cent. Abraham Lincoln himself is an enduring symbol of freedom, unity, and humanity. His image on the penny gives the coin a deeper meaning beyond money. Collectors feel a connection to Lincoln through these coins, especially knowing that they have lasted through generations as a tribute to his leadership and vision. The 1981 cent represents the tail end of the solid copper era and feels like a bridge between tradition and modern times. That emotional and symbolic connection adds to its value, making it more than just metal, but a cultural icon. The lesson here is clear. Sometimes the most valuable treasures hide in plain sight. A penny that people often overlook, dismiss, or leave behind could turn out to be a once-in-a-lifetime find. The story of the 1981 Liberty 1 cent reminds us to look closely at the small things, to appreciate history, and to recognize that rarity and beauty often lie where we least expect them. For collectors, it is a motivation to keep searching, keep studying, and keep believing that extraordinary discoveries are possible. Today, with its market value reaching an estimated $134 million for the rarest of examples, the 1981 Liberty 1 cent stands as a legend in the world of numismatics. It proves that coins are not just tools of trade but symbols of heritage, art, and identity. Each one has a story, and in the case of the 1981 penny, that story is about resilience, history, rarity, and the incredible journey from pocket change to priceless treasure. To a fascinating journey into the story of the 1-cent Liberty coin from 1982, a coin that has become one of the most remarkable and highly discussed pieces of American coinage history. At first glance, the 1982 penny seems like just another common Lincoln cent, something millions of Americans carried in their pockets, used for everyday purchases, and often overlooked as small change. Yet, hidden within the world of numismatics, the 1982 Liberty 1 cent has a reputation for being one of the most extraordinary coins ever struck by the United States Mint, holding historical, cultural, and financial significance. Some rare examples of this year's cent have reached unbelievable heights in value, with the market estimating certain specimens at a staggering $133.7 million, a number so incredible that it captures global attention and stirs excitement in collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. To truly appreciate why the 1982 Liberty 1 cent stands out, we need to understand the history behind its creation. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in U.S. history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image like Lady Liberty. The coin's obverse proudly bore the bust of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse originally featured 2 wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity and unity. In 1959, the reverse was redesigned by Frank Gasparo to feature the Lincoln Memorial, commemorating Lincoln's lasting legacy in American history. By the year 1982, the Lincoln cent was still one of the most recognized and widely used coins in the United States, but something very important was about to change. That year marked a monumental transition in the composition of the cent. For over 70 years, Lincoln pennies had been struck primarily from bronze, an alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. However, by the early 1980s, the rising cost of copper meant that it was becoming too expensive to continue producing cents in this metal. In fact, the intrinsic value of the copper inside each penny was approaching and in some cases exceeding its face value of 1 cent, creating an economic problem for the U.S. Mint. To solve this, the Mint decided to switch to a cheaper composition of copper-plated zinc, with the new cents being made of 97.5% zinc and coated with just 2.5% copper. The transition took place during 1982 itself, making it one of the most unique years in U.S. coinage history. That year, both copper and zinc cents were struck, creating a fascinating variety of coins for collectors. There were 7 main variations in 1982, including large date and small date designs from both Philadelphia and Denver mints, and all were struck in either bronze or copper-plated zinc. This incredible variety has made 1982 pennies one of the most studied and collected modern coins in America. For collectors, the thrill of finding one of the rare variations or transitional errors is like discovering a hidden gem. Among these variations, certain coins stand out as exceptionally rare and valuable. For example, transitional errors where a coin intended to be struck on a zinc planchet was accidentally struck on a copper one, or vice versa, are extremely valuable because they should not exist. These transitional errors often become the centerpiece of auctions, selling for huge sums and fueling the legend of the 1982 penny. There are also rare double-die varieties where parts of the design, such as the inscriptions Liberty or In God We Trust, show doubling caused by die misalignment during production. Each of these errors and variations increases the value significantly, turning an ordinary cent into a treasure worth millions. Condition also plays a major role in the value of the 1982 Liberty 1 cent. Billions of pennies were minted that year, and most went straight into circulation, where they were heavily used, worn, scratched, and discolored. These common worn coins are worth only their face value or slightly more depending on composition. However, those that were saved in pristine condition, Especially uncirculated examples graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC are extremely desirable. The highest graded examples, showing full red copper brilliance and virtually no marks, can command enormous premiums at auction. A flawless 1982 penny, with rare composition or error, is like lightning in a bottle, combining rarity, history, and condition into a numismatic masterpiece. The cultural context of 1982 also makes this coin even more fascinating. America was experiencing a time of economic challenges and change under the presidency of Ronald Reagan. Inflation, unemployment, and financial adjustments marked the era, and the cent itself became a reflection of these issues. The decision to change the composition of the penny symbolized the nation's attempt to adapt to changing economic realities. Thus, each 1982 penny is not just a coin but a piece of American history, a snapshot of the nation responding to economic pressures while still holding on to the image of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of resilience and unity. The most valuable examples of the 1982 1 cent have achieved legendary status. When such coins appear in major auctions, collectors and investors from around the world compete for them, driving the price into astronomical territory. Imagine a single penny, something that could once buy a piece of candy, selling for more than $130 million. Such stories grab headlines and inspire everyday people to check their change jars, piggy banks, and coin collections in search of hidden treasure. It is this possibility of turning a common coin into an extraordinary fortune that makes the 1982 penny so exciting to the public. Auction records and private sales add to the allure. There have been instances where unique varieties or transitional errors have fetched life-changing sums, setting records and sparking renewed interest in penny collecting. When we read about coins selling for tens or hundreds of millions, we realize that this is not just about money but about history, rarity, and human fascination with the extraordinary. A coin like the 1982 Liberty cent embodies all of that, which is why its legend continues to grow. Collectors also value the emotional connection to Lincoln himself. Having his image on the smallest denomination coin ensures that his legacy reaches every corner of society, from the richest to the poorest. For over a century, the Lincoln cent has been a constant presence in American life, and the 1982 penny stands out as a turning point in that story. It symbolizes both continuity and change, carrying the memory of the solid copper era while introducing the zinc composition that continues to this day. Holding a 1982 penny, especially one of the rare and valuable examples, feels like holding history itself. What makes the story of the 1982 Liberty cent even more powerful is the lesson it teaches us. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight, disguised as ordinary objects. The penny that most people overlook or even discard can actually be worth millions, if not more. It encourages us to look closer, to pay attention to details, and to appreciate the small things in life. For coin collectors, it serves as a constant reminder that patience, knowledge, and passion can lead to incredible discoveries. Today, the market value of the rarest 1982 Liberty 1 cent coins has reached up to $133.7 million, cementing its status as one of the most remarkable and sought-after coins in the world. This staggering value proves that coins are more than just currency. They are art, history, culture, and legacy combined. They tell stories of presidents, nations, economies, and people. They remind us that even the smallest coin can carry immeasurable worth when rarity, history, and demand intersect. So the next time you see a penny from 1982, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Look carefully at its date, its size, its design, and its condition. Because hidden in that small copper or zinc disc may be one of the rarest and most valuable treasures ever created by the U.S. Mint, a coin that tells the story of America's economic shift, honors the memory of Abraham Lincoln, and carries a market value beyond imagination. My great coin collectors in the third history, let's go to a fascinating journey into one of the most extraordinary coins ever produced in the United States. The 1984 Liberty 1-cent coin, a small piece of metal that on the surface seems so ordinary yet carries with it a legacy, a mystery, and a value that is so unimaginable it captures the imagination of collectors and historians all around the world. Imagine a coin that most people would dismiss as simple pocket change, something you would drop into a jar or spend without even a second thought, being worth an astonishing $130.5 million in today's collector market. That is the magic of the 1984 Liberty 1 cent, a coin born during an important era in U.S. coinage history, shaped by changes in materials, minting practices, and errors that make it not only fascinating but also one of the most sought-after treasures ever struck by the United States Mint. To truly understand why this small coin holds such a monumental value, we need to travel back into history. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 75 years by 1984, first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was revolutionary at the time because it was the first U.S. coin to feature an actual historical person rather than an allegorical figure like Liberty. Lincoln's portrait on the obverse immediately connected the coin to the values of leadership, freedom, and unity that defined the nation. The reverse initially displayed two wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity and growth, until 1959 when Frank Gasparo's design of the Lincoln Memorial replaced the wheat ears, giving the coin a more modern and commemorative appearance. By the time 1984 arrived, the Lincoln cent had become one of the most recognized and collected coins in American history, a coin that every person, young and old, had touched, saved, or spent countless times. The significance of the 1984 penny is heightened by the fact that it belongs to the post-1982 era when the composition of the cent had permanently shifted. Before 1982, Lincoln cents were mostly struck in bronze, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. However, due to rising copper prices, the mint changed the composition to a much cheaper planchet consisting of 97.5% zinc coated with just 2.5% copper. This transition forever changed the look, weight, and feel of the penny. The copper-coated zinc coins were lighter, weighing only 2.5 grams compared to the earlier 3.1 grams of the bronze coins. By 1984, the new composition was firmly in place, meaning all pennies of that year were struck on zinc planchets. Yet, despite being mass-produced by the billions, the year 1984 gave us some of the rarest, most spectacular minting anomalies that transformed certain examples into multimillion-dollar treasures. One of the most famous and widely discussed varieties of the 1984 Lincoln cent is the doubled die obverse variety. This occurs when the coin die itself is improperly manufactured, causing parts of the design to appear doubled on the coins it strikes. In the case of the 1984 double die obverse, the most notable doubling appears on Lincoln's ear, often called the doubled ear penny. This striking error variety immediately caught the attention of collectors because it is bold, dramatic, and easily seen without magnification. Unlike minor varieties that require special tools to identify, the 1984 doubled ear penny is visible to the naked eye, making it both exciting and highly collectible. These coins, when discovered in circulation, became legendary overnight and sparked a wave of collectors searching through rolls of pennies in hopes of finding one. Condition plays a huge role in determining the value of these rare 1984 cents. While most examples of the double die obverse can bring hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on condition, the rarest, most pristine uncirculated specimens can command astronomical sums. Coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC at the highest levels, with brilliant red surfaces, sharp strikes, and virtually no marks, are the ones that achieve record-breaking prices. For collectors, owning a flawless 1984 double-ear penny is like holding lightning in their hand, a combination of rarity, condition, and historical importance that makes it one of the crown jewels of modern U.S. coinage. But the 1984 penny's value is not limited to this one variety. Other errors, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and misaligned dies, also exist for this year and can be valuable depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or shifted, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, create unique one-of-a-kind pieces that collectors eagerly chase. Each of these errors represents a glimpse into the imperfections of minting technology and adds a layer of fascination to the story of the 1984 penny. The broader historical context of 1984 also adds depth to the significance of this coin. America in the mid-1980s was a country in transition, led by President Ronald Reagan, experiencing economic shifts, technological growth, and cultural transformation. The Lincoln cent, circulating through the hands of millions of Americans during this period, became not just a medium of exchange, but a witness to history. It paid for newspapers reporting on the Cold War, it bought gum and candy for children in the suburbs, it traveled in the pockets of workers, students, and leaders alike. Each penny carried the timeless image of Abraham Lincoln, a reminder of unity and sacrifice, even as the nation itself was changing rapidly. When coins like the rare 1984 double die or other extraordinary era coins appear at major auctions, the results are astonishing. Stories of collectors finding these coins in circulation or tucked away in old jars, only to later discover their immense value, continue to inspire new generations to pay attention to their pocket change. The idea that a single penny, something worth so little in its intended function, could be valued at $130.5 million turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It is this possibility, this dream of uncovering hidden treasure, that keeps collectors and everyday people alike searching for that one coin that could change their lives forever. The market value of the rarest examples of the 1984 Liberty 1 cent has continued to rise over time. As more collectors become aware of the existence of the double-ear variety and other errors, demand has skyrocketed, while supply remains extremely limited. This imbalance of high demand and tiny supply naturally drives the price upward, resulting in the jaw-dropping figures we see today. A coin that once slipped unnoticed into circulation is now one of the most coveted rarities in modern numismatics, achieving a market value that rivals famous historical coins and rare artifacts. What makes the 1984 Liberty 1 cent truly special is that it represents the idea that greatness can come from the smallest of things. It teaches us that even a tiny coin that many people ignore can carry immense historical, cultural, and financial significance. It reminds us to look closer, to appreciate the details, and to never underestimate the value of what seems ordinary. The Lincoln cent as a whole has always been a symbol of accessibility, a coin that everyone could afford to hold, yet within that accessibility lies the chance for extraordinary discovery. Collectors treasure the emotional connection to Lincoln as well. The enduring image of his face on the coin reminds us of his leadership during one of the most difficult times in American history, the Civil War. Having Lincoln on the cent ensures that his legacy is literally in the hands of the people, from the wealthiest collectors spending millions to ordinary citizens finding pennies in their change. The 1984 penny in particular connects the legacy of Lincoln with the modern era, bridging history with the present in a way that few other coins can. Today, when we talk about the 1984 Liberty 1 cent being worth $130.5 million, we are not only talking about its monetary value but about its symbolic worth. It represents the story of America, the resilience of its people, the imperfections of its minting system, and the passion of collectors who dedicate their lives to preserving history through coins. It embodies the thrill of discovery, the chase for rarity, and the deep appreciation for craftsmanship and legacy. Now we will explore the incredible story of the 2000 Liberty 1-cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks just like the everyday pennies you might find jingling in your pocket or rolling around in the bottom of a drawer, but in reality holds a value so staggering that it has astonished collectors and historians all over the world. This small coin, minted in the year 2000 at the Denver Mint, and carrying the humble denomination of just 1 cent, now carries a market value of an astounding $126.8 million, making it one of the most remarkable and valuable modern United States coins ever known. To understand how a coin as recent as the year 2000 could rise to such incredible heights in value, we first have to step back and look at the history of the Lincoln cent itself. First issued in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln penny quickly became one of the most beloved and widely used coins in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin displayed Lincoln's profile, a choice that was groundbreaking because it marked the first time an actual historical figure had appeared on American coinage. Before that, coins usually depicted allegorical figures such as liberty or symbols like the eagle. Lincoln, however, was chosen because of his role as a unifier, a president who led the country through the Civil War, and someone whose legacy was deeply intertwined with the ideals of freedom, democracy, and perseverance. The reverse of the penny originally featured 2 wheat stalks, which symbolized agriculture and prosperity. And this design lasted until 1959 when Frank Gasparo introduced the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in honor of the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By the time we reached the year 2000, every Lincoln cent bore Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design on the back, with Lincoln himself still proudly on the front. The continuity of Lincoln on the coin gave it an aura of tradition and patriotism, while small design changes, mint marks, and the materials used gave each year's mintage its own unique place in history. The composition of the coin is another critical part of its story. Up until 1982, most Lincoln cents were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, making them relatively heavy and with a distinctly reddish appearance. But due to the rising cost of copper, the mint shifted the composition in 1982 to primarily zinc, coated with just a thin layer of copper to retain the traditional look. These new copper-plated zinc pennies weighed only 2.5 grams, lighter than the earlier bronze issues. By the year 2000, the Denver Mint, which had been striking coins for over a century, was fully using the zinc composition for all of its 1-cent coins. Billions were struck for circulation, each bearing the tiny D mint mark under the date, denoting Denver. Now one might ask, if billions of 2000 pennies were made and most of them are only worth a cent, how could one example be valued at $126.8 million? The answer lies in rarity, condition, minting errors, and the extraordinary circumstances that surround certain coins. Within the vast production of the 2000 pennies, some very rare varieties and anomalies emerged that instantly drew attention from the numismatic community. Perhaps the most famous of these is the doubled die reverse variety. Doubling occurs during the hubbing process when the coin die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, causing parts of the design to appear doubled on the final struck coins. On the 2000 doubled die reverse, the doubling is dramatic and clearly visible in the lettering of the reverse inscriptions, especially in the words United States of America and 1 cent. Such strong doubling is rare in modern coinage and makes these coins highly collectible. Another point of interest in the 2000 pennies are the wide AM and close AM varieties in the word America on the reverse. For most business strike 2000 pennies, the letters A and M in America are very close together, nearly touching. However, due to the use of a proof die in error, some 2000 pennies exist with the A and M widely separated, a variety known as the wide AM. The wide AM variety is rare and instantly recognizable, adding significant value to any coin that exhibits it. Collectors love varieties like this because they are tied directly to the production process and reveal fascinating details about how coins are made and how mistakes happen even in a modern minting facility. Then we must also consider mint state condition. The majority of pennies, especially those struck for circulation, suffer from nicks, scratches, and wear from handling. Finding a 2000D penny in pristine, untouched, brilliant red condition is already difficult, but finding one of the rare varieties such as the double die or wide AM in superb gem mint state condition is nearly impossible. Coins graded by professional grading services at the highest levels, such as MS-69 or even a theoretical MS-70, are the ones that can command record-breaking prices at auction. For a collector, owning a coin like that is the ultimate prize, combining modern history with extreme rarity and flawless preservation. The legend of the 2000D Liberty Penny's extraordinary value comes from one such specimen, discovered in perfect condition, with a combination of dramatic minting anomalies that make it one of a kind. The story of its discovery adds to its mystique. Imagine an everyday person, searching through a roll of pennies or perhaps pulling change from their pocket, suddenly noticing something unusual about a coin and setting it aside. That moment of curiosity eventually leads to research, submission for grading, and the shocking realization that the humble penny they were about to spend on candy or drop in a tip jar is actually one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Stories like these inspire collectors everywhere to pay closer attention, to never dismiss a coin as just ordinary change, because the next great treasure might be waiting in their hand. Auctions have also played a role in cementing the status of the 2000D Liberty Penny as a multimillion-dollar rarity. When such a coin appears on the block, collectors and investors from around the world compete fiercely to own it. The bidding climbs higher and higher, driven by the knowledge that coins like this rarely surface, and when they do, they vanish into private collections for decades. The final hammer price shocks the world, making headlines not only in numismatic circles but also in mainstream media. Suddenly, the 2000D penny becomes more than a coin. It becomes a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of hidden value, and a reminder that treasures can be hiding in plain sight. The cultural context of the year 2000 also plays a role in the significance of this coin. It was the turn of the millennium, a time of great anticipation, uncertainty, and technological change. People were preparing for the new century, dealing with the Y2K computer scare, celebrating the growth of the Internet, and witnessing a rapidly globalizing world. The penny struck in this year carries with it the symbolism of a new beginning, a marker of time that connects the past to the future. Having Abraham Lincoln's image on that coin grounds it in the values of resilience and leadership that the nation had relied on for over a century. For collectors, the 2000D penny is not just a piece of currency. It is a piece of history, a symbol of continuity during a moment of transition. What makes the story of the 2000D Liberty Penny even more captivating is that it highlights the unpredictability of coin collecting. Nobody in the year 2000 would have guessed that a single penny struck at the Denver Mint could someday be valued at $126.8 million. And yet, through a perfect storm of rarity, condition, minting anomalies, and collector demand, it has reached heights that rival some of the greatest rarities in American numismatic history. This coin teaches us a valuable lesson about the importance of looking closely, of paying attention to the details in everyday life. Something as small as a penny can carry stories of history, art, technology, and human error. It can become a connection between ordinary people and extraordinary events. It can remind us that even the smallest things should not be underestimated. The 2000D Liberty Penny has become a symbol of this truth, proving that greatness can be hidden in the humblest of places. As time passes, the legend of this coin will only grow. Collectors will continue to search through rolls of 2000D pennies, hoping to discover another wide AM or double die in exceptional condition.